Well, thank you. It's actually really a pleasure to be here. My name is Chaim Shapiro. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services at Touro College. In addition to doing that, I give LinkedIn workshops, work one-on-one individual sessions with people in terms of maximizing their use of LinkedIn. Now, like Reverend Wordy said, this is really where it is at when it comes to social media nowadays. So if you want to see or be seen in a professional sense, you really, really, really need to be on LinkedIn. Now we're going to get into the real functionality of what LinkedIn is, what you can do with it, how to use it, all those kinds of things. I'm going to set a little brief introduction first, but one of the things I like to mention is I like this to be as interactive as possible. Okay, a great session is a lot of questions coming from you, my typing away and showing you how to do things. A bad session is my sitting up here talking a lot. Okay, I don't want to hear myself talk. I want to hear a lot of questions. Raise your hand, interrupt, something you don't understand, something you want to see. That's exactly what this is geared for. Interactive, what do you need to know, what do you want to do, what doesn't make sense to you, please let me know. I also say if you email me after the session, I can send you a webinar that I did a few months ago that has probably about 95% of this content is on it. So if you miss anything, you can write it down, but if you miss anything, the vast majority of it is on that webinar as well. So I have a webinar that I can email it to you, so you just watch it online, and it has about probably 95% of what we're doing. You know, LinkedIn, someone was talking to me before, LinkedIn changes so drastically, so quickly, that as soon as I put a webinar up, there are changes. So, but it's still, at this point, it's still about 95% accurate. So, well, actually, it's quite interesting when you think about it, just taking a step back, that when I went to college, when I started college, wasn't really using any internet. And I remember when I was a junior, it was like 1992, 93, and some guy came up to me and said, you know, if you go to the back computers in the library, there's this internet thing you can use, and he'll show me how to log onto these computers and get to this really cool thing called email. I had no idea what the guy was talking about. Question for me? Or okay. I had no idea what the guy was talking about, but really, it was something that wasn't in the conscience of most people. Just a very few people were on it. And then right around 1994, when the World Wide Web caught on, all of a sudden they had to triple and quadruple capacity at the school library because they couldn't have enough computers for people to use. So it really revolutionized the world in the access to information that was available that otherwise wasn't available before that. Or I tell the story that my daughter came up to me, she was about 5 years old at the time, and somehow she saw a platypus. You know, a platypus is it's a mammal, but it's duck-billed. Interesting animal. So what's a platypus? So I went on YouTube, I got pictures of platypi swimming, I got a whole definition on Wikipedia, and I was just telling her, you know, when I was a kid, if I asked my father what a platypus was, I could hope the World Book Encyclopedia had a picture and a little description. If not, we'd have to walk to the library to get that information. But this information and information on just about anything is so widely and readily available nowadays, that completely revolutionized things. But there was a second revolution in our lifetime, and that's what we call Web 2.0. Familiar with Web 2.0? Basically, that's when sort of the social media, the blogs, YouTube, when the voice moved from just information that people could get, that I could access libraries and find out information, now I can control the message. And for the first time, I can project my professional message in a way that was never possible before, I would argue, in human history for the common person to project themselves to such a wide audience. Places that you do that, obviously Facebook, Twitter, and for the professional side, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the premier professional site when it comes to networking. There's nothing else even close to it. A lot of other sites do a lot of other things, but when you want to be found or you're trying to find somebody, LinkedIn is the place to do it. Now, how many people here have actually Googled their own names? Anybody? So you want to tell me what you found? Rabbi, okay. But you found information about you? Yeah. Okay, good. So that's one of the things. Sometimes you find information about you, but it's not necessarily the kind of information you want to portray. Not necessarily something negative, but it's not the professional information that you want to portray. So the first step is making sure that they actually find you. My brother, and I promised I'd stop doing this because unfortunately he has the same name as somebody who was arrested for some unsavory crimes. I used to use him as an example. Hey, look at this. You type in his name, you get this criminal guy up here, you know. But he got mad at me when he saw one of the webinars, so he told me not to do that anymore. But it actually took him years to get his name above this person's name because there are so many hits for that other person's name. And whenever he applied for jobs, people would be like, oh my God. You know, and he'd say, no, that is not me. Okay, but one of the things, you know, finding negative information, and even worse, by the way, one of the things I say in career services, our jobs, is to help students create job opportunities on LinkedIn and not destroy them on Facebook. Because you see people put things on Facebook, and it could be something that looks innocent, you know, a perm party. But you have to think, how would that look to somebody who's working in a major Fortune 500 company that sees you passed out on the floor? Again, I understand it's perm, but they're not going to get that context necessarily. So there's also the issue of finding the negative information, which is a little bit of a more difficult thing. A lot of times people will say, well, Chaim Shapiro, there aren't that many Chaim Shapiros around. There was a famous author, and it actually took me years after he passed to get my name ahead of his, because I actually met him, incredible person. But some people, if your name is Sam Smith, very, very difficult to get your name out there and make sure that people can actually find you. But one of the ways to do that is through LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile shows up very, very high in Google rankings, like Rabbi Wordy said. If people Google your name and you have a good LinkedIn profile that's getting hits, chances are it will start showing up higher and people will see you. The importance of that is people are very lazy when it comes to a social media world. People tend not to do what I call, let's talk about the fold on the New York Times, right? The paper, top fold of the New York Times, that's the premier territory, anything and anywhere print media back in the day. Now, if you go under the fold, not so much, because it means people weren't reading it in the news boxes and you have to flip it over. If you have to scroll down on a website, you've already lost about 50 to 60% of the people who are looking at it. So it's important that when you Google somebody, and we will see here what happens when we Google my name. Oops, not chain smokers. There we go. Chaim Shapiro, LinkedIn consultant. Look at that. So you see my website comes up first and my LinkedIn comes up second, which is exactly the way that I want it. Because by the way, if you go back here, the chances of somebody going further down here than Twitter and Facebook, very, very small. Okay? So I'm controlling the discussion about me, because I have control of all of these different things on here, okay? That's one of the things you're trying to do with Google. Yes?
You don't have to use quotation marks to make sure you don't get other kinds?
You can. That's called the Boolean search. It depends on the name, and it depends on how big your name is. For me, at this point, I don't have to do that, because when you put in Chaim Shapiro, that's what comes up at this point. You might have to do that for other people and other searches. But the idea is, Google yourself. If you haven't done it, find out what it says about you. Make sure that it's saying something positive. If not, you definitely want to get on LinkedIn and get your profile up there. You definitely want to get on Twitter. We'll talk about that a little bit if we have some time. And make sure that you're presenting your name in the best possible way. Now, before I start and get into some of the functionality of LinkedIn, one warning that I heard from a great person, Martin Yade wrote the books Knock 'em Dead. There's job search books. And I heard him actually say one time, misconception is there is no LinkedIn fairy. What did he mean by that? People are like, well, I'm on LinkedIn. Where's my job? I'm here. It's done. Right, I get it. And unfortunately, that is not the case. It's not just being on LinkedIn. LinkedIn just surpassed 300 million members, okay? Being on it doesn't do anything. It's being on it and using it effectively, okay? So one without the other is basically not, it does nothing for you, because if you're just, yes?
My comment is always within the context of the nice class, always the focus on the business generation.
Sure. Okay. Well, whether it's job or business generation, if you want people to find you, okay, or people want to say, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm going to promote business opportunities. I'm going to connect to other people. They'll see my business. They'll see me, okay? Whatever that happens to be, that's really not what happens. You need to be able to use it effectively and appropriately. And to do that, it takes an actual specific strategy for each person to know what they want to accomplish, because you can't really get where you want to go unless you know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you want to get or where you want to go, it's much harder to get there. But for the basics, in terms of the starting, I want to start out with some of the basic things that every single one of you should be doing on your profile to start to make sure that you're creating what I call a winning profile. And again, whether you're trying to promote your business, whether you're trying to promote yourself, my consulting business, whatever it is, these are some of the basics you need to know. So all the action here starts, if you're on LinkedIn and you have your LinkedIn account, first thing here is you go to this profile right over here and click this edit profile button. You see that? Edit profile. And this is where all of the action here on LinkedIn is going to happen when you're editing your name and your profile. So the first thing to point out is you want to have, face it the right way, you want to have a professional headshot picture, okay? I know it's important. Occasionally I get women or from and don't want to have it, and I understand that to some degree. But LinkedIn itself says that people are about 7 or 8 times more likely to view your profile if you have a picture than if you don't have a picture. Okay, and I actually believe that to be the case, because when you can see somebody on here, and I'll show you some examples later, you can relate to that person much more than if you actually just see just a blank, sort of icon up there. It's a much more powerful thing, and you don't need a necessarily professional headshot. You just take a professional shot against actually a white background can generally work for you, dressed up professionally. Very, very important. And like I said, the kind of way to dress, everyone says, how should I dress for this? Well, how would you dress if you were networking for your business? That would be the same answer. You would be dressing in a suit when you're meeting people in a professional association with your business or meeting with customers. That's the image and the media you want to portray on your LinkedIn profile. Does that make sense? So you want to add that picture for sure. Next thing, okay, when it comes to your name, you see some people put their email addresses in there. I don't agree with that. I think you just want to standardly go ahead. You want to go with just your first name, last name. Some people will put something like MED or something like that if they have a particular credential. Yeah. You're just going to switch the, okay. Yeah, so if you have a particular credential, you can definitely put that in there as well.
What's MED? What is that? MED?
It's a master's in education, yeah. Not the real kind of master's. But something like that, first name, last name, and people ask me, well, if your name's Chaim, well, your name is Chaim. And by the way, that's become part of my brand. It's actually interesting because people don't forget that name if they're living outside of the firm community and they hear it. They tend to recognize that name. So it's very important to use your name, professional name, okay? No nicknames, no shleimies, and
You think it's better if his name is Menachem to use Mendy instead of Menachem?
So I think whatever your name would be on your resume or on your business or the way you present yourself professionally, what's on your license, driver's license is what I would use. I would use this is much more of a formal, official kind of thing, okay? For me, err on the side of being more formal and more professional rather than less when it comes to LinkedIn. And you tend almost always to be in a better way that way. So if your name is Mendy, I think Menachem is better because it's a more professional name. And by the way, the other thing is, for example, if someone sees, and I'm going to advise you, whether you're working for business or looking for a job, to put your resume up on LinkedIn. And we'll talk a little about that later. Okay? If they see your resume says Menachem and your name says Mendy, I get it. Somebody at PwC might not get it. Somebody who's looking to hire you for your business who's not Jewish might not get it. So the idea is to make it as simple as it can be for them. And the way to do that, I think, is to use the official name. And like I tell people, you tell your friends, yeah, it's my professional site. What do you want? I'm using my official name. You can call me Mendy when you call me. I also, by the way, I would also argue, we're good? Okay. I would also argue, by the way, if you have a professional message on your answering machine, whether it's at work and it's a business name, or whether it's your answering machine on your own cell phone, to use your actual formal name on that as well, because I think that works better when you're dealing with professional people. Okay, so the first thing is you want to have a professional name up there. Second thing here, this is the most underutilized part of LinkedIn. I see this as a mistake that people make everywhere that I've ever gone. Now, the reason they make that mistake is LinkedIn automatically defaults. If you say that, for example, that you're the assistant director of career services at Touro College, LinkedIn will autofill that over there, okay? That is an incredible waste of the most valuable space on LinkedIn. This is called your LinkedIn headline, okay? So anyone know why this is so valuable? It's on the top of your profile, but even more importantly, everywhere you show up on LinkedIn, in emails, in searches, this, your name, and this little line, 120 characters there, will show up with you. Why is that important? Well, if I got a list of 17 people that I could hire as a consultant for my job, or somebody who's, whatever company I own, and I see Chaim Shapiro, and it just says owner of Zarach Consulting in one, or whatever it is, this one gives me more information that I know that's what sells him. That's a much more powerful way of making yourself stand out. In other words, if I'm searching for people that do whatever particular accounting business, and I come up with 10 accountants who live in this community, and one just says accountant at Chaim Shapiro, and one talks about being able to maximize your ability to do whatever it is that you want to sell about yourself, and really say, hey, this is a guy I got to pay attention to, because it's all about making sure you're noticed compared to that person next to you. Because if the person next to you gets noticed and he gets the click, you've lost that business, right? You want to make sure the person finds you, and the best way to make sure they find you is to really hit something hard over there. And let me say, by the way, people always ask me, well, what should I put there? And one of the things I always say, if I could tell you what you should put there, then it's probably not going to be worth writing it, because how am I supposed to know what you should put there? Think about what sells you. What is your brand? One of the other things you'll hear in social media, it's important to have a brand that's consistent across social media. What do you want people to know you? What do I need to know about you when I see your name for whatever you're trying to sell? You see, for me, I'm trying to sell LinkedIn, so it's all LinkedIn stuff. If you're trying to sell accounting, you're trying to sell plumbing, I don't care what it is. Make sure that it screams that off of your headline so when people see it, they know to associate that with you and say, hey, here's a person whose name I have to click on. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, good. Okay.
What is that site?
What is what site?
If you would own an accounting firm, you would put the name of your accounting firm?
I probably wouldn't put the name of the accounting firm there. You can do that under your experience. and I'll show experience later. I would put something that sells what kind of accounting services that makes you a part. If you're writing, I'll get to you in a second. If you're writing, for example, I'm an accountant who specializes in audits or something like that. When a person is audited in personal income tax, that's the kind of thing to put there. It's like, I know who you are based on what you just said to me. Okay, good? Yes?
It still has to be words. It can't be like a sentence.
It can be a sentence. It can be up to 120 characters. So whatever sells you the best. It'll look different for different people. Some people put lists of things. Some people put a tagline. Mine used to be innovative educational leadership before I really got into selling the LinkedIn business. Something like that. What defines you? What makes you stand out? Again, there's no simple answer to this for everybody because everybody's going to be completely different when it comes to this. But you want to think about it. It's not something you want to put up there lightly because this can make the difference between the click or no click. Click, potential business, no click. Sorry. I had a question over here, then over there.
When I edit my profile, does that come up on the stream every time?
Yeah, so good question. One of the things that LinkedIn did, and I don't like that they did this actually, is that actually, yes, when you actually make small changes to your profile, it shows up in the stream and people get updates that so-and-so got a new job, even though they've been working in their job for a long period of time. You can actually turn that off in your settings. If you remind me afterwards, I'll show you how. I had mine turned off. The only time you'll see an update from me is if I'm doing a major change. For example, which I'm not planning on, but if I change jobs or something like that.
Do you need to allow that? Or
Then I'd have to allow it specifically for that, and right after it posts, I will turn it off. Yeah, if you go over here to settings, this little, where your head is over here, I'm not going to do it right now. If you go to privacy and settings, one of the settings is there. I'm not going to do it now so it'll make me put in my password, and it'll take us some time. But under those settings, it gives you the opportunity to choose not to do that. I've seen so many people oh, Mazel Tov on your new job. I've been here 6 years. I just changed the word. It's a flaw in the system. LinkedIn doesn't do that well. But yeah, I would only put things that are major, major changes. Detroit man.
Yes. Do the keywords in the headline affect ranking and search?
Absolutely. Yep.
More so than anywhere else?
Well, I don't want to say more so than anywhere else. It definitely, it depends on the account and it depends on a lot of other factors, but it's an important thing in terms of the search rankings. And I'm going to talk about search optimization and some other places to put that in there. But it definitely helps. And by the way, one little trick that you probably don't hear anywhere else, if you put a link, like I have a link here, and this is a LinkedIn list of services that I do. If somebody goes on my account, they cannot click on this. You'll see. Someone else, well, why did I put it there? Because if they get an email from me on LinkedIn, it is clickable. So when they get that email, I get them say, hey, what's this? I click on it, and it takes them right to my services that I provide on LinkedIn. So that's a little trick you'll learn there about LinkedIn. Questions? Okay. Moving on. Simple things here. If you're living in New York, I put New York rather than Brooklyn, or I live in West Hempstead. Greater New York area is better. It's a more recognized area. So you can have your provincial, I live in Evanston, Illinois, or Skokie or whatever, but I think you're much better off with Greater New York area. This is one thing I don't like here. They sort of lock you into several groups of different kinds of professions. I think they should let you put whatever you want here. If I want to put a circus peanut provider or something there, they should let me do it, but they don't. But you have to choose one that's most closely related to you, and then you put that right in over there. And again, why is that important? Because it all affects and has an impact on how you're showing up in searches. Okay, people will do searches for people in the higher education industry. And by the way, LinkedIn is not one of the areas that I can put up there, so I'm stuck with something else. But something I don't like about LinkedIn, but is actually very important. Okay, other questions about that? No? Okay. Next thing you need to do, okay? And if you haven't done this, you need to do it tonight, before you go to sleep tonight. How many people here have a vanity URL on their LinkedIn accounts? A vanity URL on your LinkedIn accounts? No? Okay. Let me show you. You see this here. My LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/Chaim Shapiro. If you put up an account, and the original one that I had was linkedin.com/pub.chaim783, something or other, another, and a bunch of numbers, and then something with Shapiro. What I tell you to do right away, click this edit button right here. You're going to change that. And I'm not going to actually change it on mine because that would actually take away my account. But when this clears up over here, I'll show you how to do that. You can go to the right of the screen, pull this down right here, customize your public profile URL, type in your name right here, and get rid of this thing. Type in your name right there. You don't need any dashes, no spaces, no capitalizations. It won't take them anyway. Type in your name, and that'll switch you to linkedin.com. It'll switch to IN, then the other slash, and then your name. Question I get all the time, well, Chaim Shapiro's already taken. Well, what do I do? In my case, I probably would have put Chaim Shapiro MED. If I was an accountant, I might put that, something like that, CPA. So something that gives some affiliation or connection to who you are, that makes you stand out compared to the other one. Because again, for a lot of these names, especially more popular names, these have already been taken. The reason I advise people to do it right away is, again, once it's taken, it's taken. So you want to grab it as soon as you can. And by the way, once you change it, you can't necessarily get the old one back, which is why I always get nervous when I'm on this page, because if I change it, I could potentially lose that. Now, the important thing is that changes my URL throughout LinkedIn. Whenever someone's looking for me, any LinkedIn URL that they have for me is going to default to that from this point forward. So it's important to only do it when you're ready to do it. And when you do it, make sure that, what do we do here? There you go. That you're happy with what you have. Then what I always tell people to do, after you do that, that's a great signature line on your email, right? Because it's professional, it has your name on it. Not only that, you tell people, I'm not telling you you have to look at my profile. If you're interested in what I'm selling or what I'm doing, look at my LinkedIn profile. It's a great way to get people to click through, okay? So I advise people to put that as one of the signature lines right under their name on their email. You set it up automatically, then people can actually search that, and when they find it, they're finding the information. And again, if they're more interested in you, it's just a great way to promote yourself without actually getting in anyone's face and requiring or requesting anything else. Okay, any other questions about that? Okay. Keep moving here down the profile. Now, one of the great things LinkedIn just recently did is you could actually move your pages. Used to be you were stuck with your work experience here first and your education. You could order this any way you want just by moving these things here. So this will move this down, this will move it up. You can change the order of way things show. Now, what I tell people to do is lead off with your best stuff, right? When you go back to the theory, the further down you go on any LinkedIn web page or any web page at all, the less likely it is that people are going to see it and relate to it, okay? Lead off with your top stuff. For me, I think that's my summary, okay? And that's why I have that first. When it comes to the summary, basically I'm trying to tell people who I am and what they can find. If you're looking to me, this is who I am, this is what I need you to know about me in a little bit more than 120 characters. So this is an opportunity to give it a much more in-depth perspective of who I am and what I do and what I bring to the table. So I think it's a very important component to add. Again, it's not something you can write in about 2 or 3 minutes. You need to start to think about what defines you, who you are, what you want to promote and about yourselves. Again, it's not a quick thing, but it's a very, very important part of your component. And it is searchable. So people can find, through searches, we'll actually find that on there as well, which is why I include the LinkedIn Consultant, LinkedIn Data Mining over here. In case people are searching for those things, potentially they can find me and they could potentially hire me to do those kinds of things for them. Okay, another thing that's very, very important, and people don't do this, is I would put your email address right in over there. Why? The reason is LinkedIn has this little tricky thing that if you're connected to somebody, you can send them a message. If you're not connected to them, they can charge you $10 for what's called an InMail. You familiar with InMail? You can send an email message to basically anybody on LinkedIn, but they charge you $10 to do so, okay, if you're not connected to them. Now, if somebody is trying to find me, okay, and he finds somebody else, again, it's the click versus non-click. I'm looking for business. I want people to click. If I have a choice between Chaim Shapiro, oh yeah, I can get a hold of him very easily, or Chaim Shapiro over here, I got to pay $10 to talk to this guy. When I'm comparing two people's apples and oranges, that's not a comparison anymore. I'm going with the guy I don't have to pay. Okay, unless this guy is like so far above and away. But again, when people are looking through these things, it's quick, small differences that make the difference. Put it right here. Make it very easy for people to find. Don't make them look for it. Don't make them pay to contact you. You want them to contact you. Give them the opportunity to contact you. Make them as easy as possible for them to contact you. And then you get emails. And yes, by the way, potentially you can get spam this way because there are these bots that go throughout the internet and they read things and then you get emails sent. What some people do, and you might have seen, I don't have it up here, but some people write Chaim Shapiro, then space, then the word at, and then instead of a couple spaces, then they'll put the and then Gmail, then commas, period. You know what I'm talking about? You ever seen this? Or is it where you sort of spread the email out so if somebody clicks on it, it doesn't go automatically to your email? Yes.
You put phone number, work address.
So I think you can. Again, you have to be careful with whatever you put out in professional and anywhere on the internet. If you're uncomfortable with people calling you, yeah, but you can find people's address online also. I mean, you can find a map to their house with a satellite view, which is kind of scary also. But to me, if you feel comfortable with a business phone, I would. Cell phones, it really depends on the person. I mean, I get calls on my cell phones of people selling me stuff because I have my cell phone up there, and I'm just like, I talk to them nicely, thank you, but no thank you. So you really need to be careful and understand what you're getting into when you do that, because again, when it's out there in public, it is out there in public. Yes, they can find it, but you're making it much easier for people to find it, especially if we have a very, very high profile. Yes, sir?
Can you put, is there a way to put 2 email addresses?
Yes. Well, first thing you can do is you can write a second email address down over there, And also, and maybe we'll go into the settings a little bit later today, but under your settings, you could add a second email, third email, fourth email address to your account. This one here. You go over your little picture, privacy and settings. Remind me at the end, we'll go over the privacy and settings because there's a couple questions about that. You can add extra emails. It'll just ask you to verify your email to make sure it's actually yours, but you can actually add those emails. And right here, you can put as many emails as you like as well. Okay? Okay, next thing. Another thing that people are not, any questions on that first? Okay, next thing I'm saying people are not doing is adding the rich media content to their LinkedIn profiles. This, in my mind, is a big, big, big mistake, okay? This is relatively new, about a year and a half that LinkedIn allows you to do this. You can actually embed webinars, you can embed videos, you can embed even your resume. We'll talk about the resume in just a moment. The point is, it's catching to the eye. You know, in a Pinterest world where people are looking and they're very visual, when I'm rolling down, and this is, of course, is when I'm going a little bit further down the account, I see this, it sort of catches the eye a little bit more than something just plain text. Plus, when someone clicks on this, they get, and it's not working right now, but when they click on this, because I'm in edit, that's why it's not working. But when you click on it, you can actually watch my podcast, they can watch my webinar. By the way, if you go on my account, you can just watch my webinar right off of here on my account when it's not in the edit button. Great way to promote myself. People want to know, for example, Chaim Shapiro, does he give a good LinkedIn workshop? Well, I answered the question right here. You want to take a look at it? Take a look at it, right? And if people ask me, you know, do you have any examples of your work? I say, well, look, I'm not hiding it. I'm quite the contrary. I'm putting it out there where everyone can find it. So I think that's a very, very important thing. Now, things to remember is you can only put 5 that'll show up here. So you want to lead off with your best, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, okay? You can put more there. Anybody here named Seymour? Okay, good. Because I was just talking about, like, I don't like Seymour, and some guy got upset at me. I'm like, no, that's Seymour, not this Seymour. Anyway, but somebody, it's really, the guy was getting mad at me. Like, anyway, I was like, they could show up below there, but look, worse than scrolling down the page, you got to really, really, really want somebody to click on Seymour. Okay, so chances are, if you put something there, it's not going to get noticed. Okay, so you put up to 5 things here. Now, one of the great things also, in addition to the summary, you can actually include this thing under your work responsibilities and positions as well. Okay, this is the next thing. Now, again, I have this second because in my mind, this is the second best selling point for me, is my professional experience. If your best selling point is your professional experience, that's what you're putting up there. A lot of times for people in business, that might be the case. What have I done in my business? What does my business do? Those kinds of things. You need to really judge, and it's much easier now than it ever was in order to do that. Now, a couple questions about this. You see here, this is the Turo logo. And if you're working for a major company, and I'm assuming most people here are not, is that, whether you are or you aren't, you want to make sure that it matches up to the major company because it'll autofill it, and that way you'll associate directly with that company. See, a lot of people say they'll work at Turo and they won't connect it, and that's a mistake because it doesn't come up with the Turo accounts. If you're working with a small company, chances are it's not going to have it there on the autofill, which is fine, then you just fill it in. But if you're working for a major company, you want to be associated with that company. That's good for your brand because you're working for a major company. And you want to make sure that that little icon shows up here. And when you put it in, you want to make sure that it actually shows up together with that. Okay? Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you here. This is where you add your media content. This little button right over here. You can put a link. Let me go back to that for 1 second. I forgot to show you the resume. You can add a link to something. You can link to a video. And this is what I also tell people to do. Whether you're looking for a job or you want to have your business doing consulting, if you want people to see your resume, I tell people embed it right here on your LinkedIn profile. You'll see here, this right here is actually my actual resume. Yes, it has my address and phone number on it, by the way, which I get a lot of questions about. But you can see it looks like a resume. And the way I was able to do that, there's anyone here of SlideShare? SlideShare.net? Okay, SlideShare is, I didn't type it up here. SlideShare.net is like a sharing kind of thing. It was actually bought out by LinkedIn about a year ago. So they play very nicely together in the sandbox. Actually, about 2 years ago, when SlideShare was about to be bought out by LinkedIn, they were fighting. They actually took away the availability. They weren't playing nice. They didn't let you show your SlideShare previews. These previews are great because you can see this looks like a resume. People can click on it and actually see my resume right there. And the way to do that is to actually put your resume into SlideShare. You upload the document into SlideShare. And after that, it'll give you a link, and you just post that link right there, and that'll give you a preview of that particular document. You can do that with a Microsoft Word document, though I found it works a lot better with SlideShare in terms of the preview actually working and centering yourself appropriately. Does that make sense? Okay, questions about that?
So anytime
Yes.
I want to have a document online, I want to be able to send someone a link to it, I use SlideShare?
You can't do that. I have a number of documents that I've done, papers that I've done, things like that. presentations that I've done that I've actually included in SlideShare that I can include and send to people that way. Another great website for that is called Box.com, though that doesn't play nice with LinkedIn, which is why I don't use it here on LinkedIn. But yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. Again, but whatever you're putting online, I want to re-emphasize this, it has to be professional, okay? You know, something sounds good to you, but it's not excellent work, don't post it. Because these things that you post never, ever, ever go away, ever. Anything you post anywhere at any time never goes away. By the way, something even scarier, if you send something in an email, it doesn't go away either. Because you never know who's going to get it, who's going to get it forwarded to. They save a screenshot on their computer. Anything you post anywhere online that you send to anyone, anywhere online, email, posting, social media, blogs, does not ever, ever go away. Okay? So if you have something, you put up something, it was like a joke and it wasn't serious, potentially that can come back and haunt somebody years later. I always say, by the way, there's going to be like a senatorial election in 15 or 20 years or presidential election. Somebody's going to be way out in the lead and be like, oh my God, look what he said in 2014 on Twitter, and that's going to be the end of that person's candidacy. Because those things do not go away. Even though he was a nobody at the time, somebody saved it in their computer for some who knows what reason. So you have to be very, very careful with those kinds of things. Does that make sense? Okay, so here when it comes to your profession, gives you the opportunity to tell you how long you've been there. And I tell people here, if you're working on your own business, I think a business description could be the kind of thing you want to go with here as opposed to the kinds of things that what you've done in your profession. Usually when you're working in a business, you're not looking for a job. You just want to be more descriptive about what you're doing, what your business does. That's probably the place for it right over here. Okay? So descriptions of what your business specializes in, what your business does, what your particular role in doing that is, and gives you an opportunity to describe it in more depth. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
Is it better to write I when you're writing these things?
So there's two schools of thought on that. There's the resume school of thought, and the people say, this is 2014. It's not resume stuff anymore. I tend to believe you're better off being more in the resume realm, just in case somebody views it like that, and you get some of these old stuffy bosses. He used the word I. Oh my God! And they freak out. So I think the cost-benefit analysis on that is sometimes it sounds a little bit better when you use the word I. But in case you get one of these real stuffy old people that's looking at your stuff and says, he used the word I, and it's not worth the risk, But there are definitely people who disagree with that and say that you want to use the word I. And again, this is really focusing on your business. An important question we got before is if your LinkedIn name is the name of your business, you need to change that. Okay? Go up and get your name as your LinkedIn profile. It is against the user agreement on LinkedIn to actually use your business name. It has to be your personal name. Now, people always think, you know what? Well, I don't need to worry about this. I own my Facebook page. It's on my Twitter page. I have a group here. There's things that I have on LinkedIn. Those things are not yours. They belong to LinkedIn. They belong to Facebook. They can take them away from you, okay? And I've seen this happen when people call me and say, I used my business name and LinkedIn took it away, and all my data is erased. All the connections I made, all the things that I posted, all my groups are all gone. Now you can ask and beg LinkedIn to get you back. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they'll say that the information is lost. But if you have your business name as your LinkedIn name, change it as soon as you can, get your name, and actually you can go to the help forum here on LinkedIn. LinkedIn Help will actually help you combine those two accounts.
What is it that's going to walk you through to change?
The LinkedIn Help, if you go to LinkedIn Help section, come to me afterwards, I'll show you. LinkedIn Help section will help you combine the two accounts. But you definitely want to change that because, again, it's not yours. It belongs to LinkedIn. They can change you. They can sanction you. They can take away your stuff if you're not behaving. They have tons of lawyers that work through all this stuff. So trust me, you don't want to play with them on this because it really does, it's not worth it because they can actually take anything away. Now, the other thing is you can actually add rich media content to this as well. You'll see here that I have a SlideShare presentation that I gave at a conference, some of the things that I gave at another conference and those kinds of things, and here are just some roundtable questions that I used, okay? And by the way, here's an example. For my personal business, this is sort of what I use as some of the things that I do in my business as opposed to using the terms as perform this and that and the other thing, sort of a list of the kind of things that I do. Does that make sense?
I didn't understand.
In other words, what I have up here, majority of what I have up here is the stuff that I've done in my full-time regular job, Assistant Director of Career Services. In addition, when I do my LinkedIn stuff and I put on my little LinkedIn cape, I am the president of Zorach Consulting, and these are some of the things that I do in Zorach Consulting that I want to highlight. Okay? As opposed to what I have here listed under what I do during my day job and as Assistant Director of Career Services at Turo. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm just, instead of promoting that I present this, that, and the other thing and using these fancy Empower students to do this, I'm just sort of listing some of the things. And again, these things will show up in the rankings when people are searching for me potentially, and that could be a great way to get people who are looking for that kind of services. Yes?
Why do you want experience ahead of a consulting?
Why did I want it? See, truth is, I would like to put the consulting first, but I don't think my current profession would appreciate that as much. Because it is my full-time gig. I mean, this is sort of something I do on the side. Yes, it's my own personal account, but it's like when they look at it, I want them to see that I'm promoting the fact that I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services. Plus, by the way, if you're working for major companies, they like having people with great profiles. Presents the company well. So from my perspective, yes, I might show up a little bit higher up that way. But by the way, you'll still see that my LinkedIn headline is all my stuff. So that's really the most important real estate for me here. Okay, and I am using that for myself. But yes, but when it comes to the choice, I'd rather not fight them on that and have them say, well, why aren't you doing this, that, and the other thing? Not that they probably would, but it's just just to me, it's a little more comfortable that way.
And people understand when you have both of those subtext, they see that you have two.
Yeah, I think people tend to understand because unfortunately, the reality is for a lot of people nowadays, people are doing multiple things. It's not as uncommon as it was. Like my father used to go to work and he used to come home at night and all that. And, those days are pretty much done, and people are doing a lot of secondary and tertiary things. So I think people do understand that. You also see, by the way, that I have here that I am the founder of the From Network. If you're not part of the From Network, you might want to join. It is the largest, I believe, the largest Orthodox networking group on LinkedIn, or maybe perhaps in all of social media. And you can join that. And I'm actually the founder of that. I've been doing that for about, I guess, 7 years and 6 months. And basically, it's community networking opportunities. Okay, the idea is to connect people in the From community to one another, so that when you look at groups, you can connect people for business opportunities. My absolute dream was to create an international From marketplace where people can compete for business from places all over the world, offering services that can be done over online. Somebody's looking for graphic design. Well, here's somebody bidding in Israel, and here's somebody bidding here. Because what that'll do is, to me, let's keep the money in the community if we can. Right? And the more people compete, the more productive they are, the better their product is, and the opportunity to reach outside the community as well. So that's sort of the goal of the From Network. You're all free to send an email and join the From Network after this. But that's another thing I have there. That's the tertiary thing. What's that? So actually, if you go up here to the top, under interests and groups, it'll be under groups. And I'll show you we'll get to that in a little while. But when you go into groups, it'll show you the opportunity to put in the From Network, and then you'll be able to join that. I do have a thing where I'll double check and make sure I know who you are, because I don't want to. I said, if you let everybody into a From Network, it's no longer a From Network. Yes, sir.
Give me some time to telling us how techniques and looking for the people we're looking for.
Sure. If that's what people want to do, we'll get to that in about 5 minutes. I was going to put about the second half hour to this. This last thing a couple last things I want to put in. Okay, skills and endorsements. This is also very, very high search based. Okay, so you can put up to 50 skills on here. I would say if you have 50 skills, you want to put, you get to choose skills that you want to highlight, okay, that you have. And so I'm an expert in LinkedIn, resume writing, career counseling, leadership development, all these things, okay? I can put that up there on my account, up to 50 of them, okay? And that's very searchable. When somebody's looking for somebody who lives in the New York area who's an expert on LinkedIn and career development, potentially my name will show up because of that. Now, yes, the more of these recommendations, endorsements you get, the higher you will show up. I think, unfortunately, LinkedIn sort of misfired slightly when it comes to these endorsements, because I once got endorsed for being a basketball coach, which I'm not, but somebody just sent it. It's become too easy to do. But on the other hand, it's a great way to make sure that you're presenting yourself. I would say take advantage of it. Make sure that you're promoting your major skills. Now, I see people say, I'm organized. I have Microsoft Word. We're talking about higher order skills here, not things that are simple or should be relatively, expected when it comes to somebody working in the professional world.
So
yes.
Do you write that you can do Microsoft, or no?
I wouldn't put it there. To me, that's a waste of space. I like to think of higher order things rather than sort of the lower sort of things that are sort of considered synonymous with professional business world nowadays. Yes?
When I make new connections, a lot of times they endorse me automatically.
Yeah.
What do people expect?
Yeah, look, it's actually interesting. I was on a webinar today with some of the top people at LinkedIn, and he was talking about this. And he even admitted they sort of misfired on this one. What they're trying to do is allow people to present their professional self. What's ended up happening is people say, oh, I want him to pay attention to me, so I'll endorse them. And it's become too easy, and people endorse you for things that aren't relevant. So their work, people do it. It happens all the time. It happens to everybody. What I tell people is, look, two things that I tell people to do. Number one is don't endorse somebody unless you're willing to stand behind the endorsement. Okay? When I endorse somebody, if you come up to me and say, Chaim Shapiro, why did you endorse David Smith for LinkedIn? I will be able to tell you why I endorsed him and why I believe in his ability to do that. And that's what I advise people. If you're going to endorse somebody, stand behind your word. Okay? The second thing I tell people to do is to monetize their endorsements. So when somebody sends me an endorsement for public speaking, I say, thank you for endorsing me. How can I use that skill to help you? Would you like a LinkedIn presentation? Would you like to see my webinar? So I say monetize those opportunities. Those are people that are doing something. Now, 90% of the time they didn't mean it, but 10% of the time that's a great opportunity to reach out to people and to engage them.
How do you endorse someone that's...
So if you go on their account, and when you pull up their account, when you pull down, especially if it connects to them, they'll see this will come up if it's not on their edit profile, and you just need to click on it, and it'll do it. See if I can just show you that. I'll have to find a different name.
You have to send out the people to endorse, right?
Well, usually when you're looking at somebody else's account, let's just do Chaim Shapiro as an example here. Because this usually gives a good illustration of why I tell you to use the picture. Sorry, I'm not used to this keyboard. All right. Now, to me, I think this is a good example of why I think you need to use the picture. Okay?
A lot of Chaim Shapiros.
There are a lot of Chaim Shapiros. Now, you notice mine is at the top because I'm the most active. But, okay, let's say you're looking between me and this Chaim Shapiro. And again, you're not looking by name. Let's say I'm looking by LinkedIn experts and the three names come up. When you see this versus this, which one do you associate with more? Okay, I actually once said, first heckler I got, I was at a LinkedIn Plus Expo a year ago, actually. Somebody goes, you shouldn't use that picture. It doesn't do you justice. I said, well, once you see me in person, no picture really does me justice. So, what else to say? But I think it makes a big difference. And by the way, here again, this student, I get it. It's a student picture, but it's not anywhere near as professional as this. So I think to me, this is a very important way to make sure that you stand out. Okay, so if you click on these people, they're not first degree connections, so you're not going to be able to look for it.
Have a man wearing a beard, isn't it pushing off? Is the picture minus?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Look, something.
Let that those be somewhere else.
Yeah, no. What I always tell people.
Can you show us someone with a beard?
What's that? Can I show you something without a beard?
You could put me.
With a beard, okay. I'll show you something with a beard.
But you work in the community. If you're talking about selling to a guy in Texas, your professional opinion is
I think
still
your
50 is
hipster.
better?
Did I get that? Is that right?
Hipster.
I think I got it. There we go. Look, you know what I say to people, by the way, when it comes down to it? Are there people like that? I mean, yes, we just seen that with the Clippers owner. There are people like that. But tends to my belief, you don't want to be working with those people. If you can avoid it. If they're gonna judge you based on that, you probably don't want to work with them. Is there the possibility? Sure, there's always the possibility, but that's not the people I really want to work with. Let me just see here. So I can go right here and click plus on Hebrew and endorse Rabbi Wordy for Hebrew. I don't know if he knows Hebrew, but I could endorse him for that just by pushing the plus button for any one of these.
So Hebrew
And that would.
is more valuable than Microsoft Professional?
I think I personally wouldn't put, not to use Rabbi Wordy as an example, I wouldn't put Hebrew there. I'd put it under languages at the bottom.
I didn't select people. People endorse me.
They endorse you for it. That's like the basketball coach. I actually refuse that on mine. So that happens quite often. It happens a lot. And I would refuse it. I usually tell people that kind of thing, like endorsements for things like Hebrew, I would put on the bottom under languages on their separate category. But again, not to use you as the example, but that's something I would put a little bit further down on your profile.
Cancel an endorsement.
How do you cancel an endorsement? Okay, so let me go here. I'll show you that. So if you got an endorsement that you don't want, or for somebody you don't want, or you don't want the endorsements at all. I'll show you both, actually. Come on. Okay, go to the edit button right here. Okay, I want to be endorsed, yes, no, include me in endorsements, add, remove, and manage endorsements. So that's where you can do all that kind of stuff. And if it's a particular person you don't want, by the way, if it's a person you don't want, chances are you want to find some way to remove them from your network, but that doesn't happen very often. But if there's something that someone's endorsing you for and it's not something you're an expert in, I would advise people generally to remove that. Yes?
People can't recommend or endorse you if they're not a LinkedIn member, but if you email you can post that to your LinkedIn account and you do that.
Yeah, well, okay. So there's a little bit of a better way of doing that, and that's the next thing I was actually going to get to, so thank you. That was a perfect segue. You're down here at the bottom, much, much more powerful than endorsements are the recommendations. Oops. Because a recommendation, I'm actually taking the time out of my day to actually say, I know this person. Chaim Shapiro is an excellent, what would we say, premium? Chaim Shapiro is a premium guy. And so, I want to recommend him for this and say that he has that kind of ability. Okay, as you see here's my recommendations. So you'll see here that I have whatever number of recommendations, received 26 from different people. First place to go, have at least 3. When you get to 3, it takes you up to the next level. After that, 10, 12 gets you to the next level after that. But when you have 3, it kicks you up to a higher level in terms of the searches. And generally, you want to have people that mean something. I still have occasional students, but I've seen too many people like, I'll recommend you if you recommend me kind of thing, and it's not as powerful as for example, here's somebody that I gave a LinkedIn lecture for at the Northeastern Illinois University, and he was nice enough to write a recommendation for me. And actually here, you can ask
him first, or you call him?
So actually what I did is afterwards, I mentioned it to him at the session, and then I sent him, asked to be recommended, this little button, and I sent it to him directly just as a reminder, and he did it pretty much right away, and I included it. By the way, if someone recommends you, you do not have to include the recommendation in your profile. So if somebody comes up and says, Chaim Shapiro guy is this, that, and the other thing, you just remove it. It's not going to show up on your account. So you have complete control over what does and what doesn't show up on your account.
Facebook, if you don't.
I don't know about Facebook. There are ways to delete it. There are ways to delete it, unless it's in somebody else's conversation, which makes it more difficult. But one more thing I want to show you here, just about, and then we're going to get into the search capabilities, so we're coming up on half an hour. One of the things I tell people, someone asked me this a little bit earlier today, is how many connections do you want to have? Okay? Now, I connect to just about anybody that will connect to me, and the reason I do that is it gives me an incredibly rich data search capability. I can find information on just about anybody. Because the way LinkedIn works is, if I'm connected to you, and you're connected to her, and she's connected to her, because I'm connected to you, I can see her and some of what she has over there. Okay, it's 3 degrees of separation. I like to say that's 3 degrees, but you're not Kevin Bacon. And what that basically means is when I'm connected to somebody directly, I can see all the information of that person. I can send them messages. If you're connected to him, I just found the ability to actually find out his information and potentially connect to him as well. Now, the reason that's important is, and we're talking about finding people, when I'm looking for somebody, oh my gosh, I need somebody who works for this particular company who's connected to me somehow, because I'm looking for an in at that company to pitch my business. Oh, wait a minute. He knows so-and-so who is the CEO of that company. There's your opportunity to use that person to turn that cold lead into a warm lead. Does that make sense? Right?
Did someone see if you do not want to connect with them, if you exit instead of?
So they don't get a message you exit. I mean, it just doesn't show up. Yeah. Again, they might be able to find out if they're really good at it, but they generally don't see that. Look, if it's a normal person you're connected to, I think it doesn't hurt to connect to them. I got Robin Hood and Sherlock Holmes tried to connect to me and those kinds of things. And one of the worst parts is there are actual accounts that look real that are spam accounts that are actually trolling for information. They make it look like she's a recruiter, usually recruiter positions, because they figure people who are looking for jobs in LinkedIn will connect to them. They troll for information. So you want to be careful with that. But where you really want to be, if you can get to it, and again, find people you know, is you want to get to 500 connections. Why? You want to know why? Because whether you have 500 connections, or whether you have 501 connections, or whether you have 30,000 connections, the only thing that's going to show up under this little box is 500 plus, period. So you won't actually know that I have close to 14,000 connections. If I'm looking for somebody and I want to assume this person is a LinkedIn maven, they know how to use LinkedIn, I'm looking to see that they're a networker. Once I see that 500 number, I'm going, oh, here's somebody who knows how to network because they're at the 500. They don't need to know that's only 501 as opposed to 30,000. But that shows me that you're at a different Madrega, you're at a different level of networking than people that don't have that 500.
It always says the exact number?
It always says 500. When you're at 501, it'll always say 500 plus. It never goes higher than 500 plus. The reason for that, when LinkedIn first started, the idea was you're supposed to connect to people you know well. And their thought was, well, how many people could you possibly know well? Okay, but that's why they limited it to 500, I think. But at this point, yeah, once you're above 500, it doesn't matter. And at this point, you'll see, if I take you to this page over here, you'll see that I'm connected to an insane number of people. Let's see, where did it go here?
Every
There we
time
go.
it's below 500, it says the exact.
It says the exact number. If you have 375, it'll say 375. And I'll tell you, when I connect to people and I see 450, maybe I don't want to send them an invitation. They might not be as active on LinkedIn as I want them to be. Okay, so I'm thinking twice, especially at my point when I see somebody who doesn't have 500. So you'll see here that I have an insane number of connections. Okay, and that connections you also see here, by the way, here's the power. Because of these 13,000.
Maybe it's a person that just started a business or...
Well, from my perspective, there are a couple things that can happen because I'm connected to so many people. Number one, I've done data crunching and data mining for recruiters. So, spin me a name of somebody who works in ultra high net worth, lives in Detroit, that has 6 years as a CPA, and I can give him that information, and he pays me for it. So that's the kind of thing I can do with that database. Because you see here, I have in my connections 25 million people that I can research. Imagine how incredibly powerful a 25 million person big database is to research. Okay. The other thing is the reason I connect is the people I'm connected to directly. Within 3 degrees, so I'm connected to him, he's connected to you. Within 3 degrees, I got 25 million people, which is a little bit less than 10% of all of LinkedIn.
Second number?
The second number, oh, these are just the people that have been in my network since May 4th. It just updates me how many new people are in my network. And again, that's a high number because this number is high. So for example, I have 27,000 new people that entered my network in the last 24, 48 hours. These are people that I connected to, but people that connected to you and connected to you as well, because they're within 3 degrees of me. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes.
Is that the first, second, and third? Where it says that?
First, second, and third is, this number over here is within 3 degrees. This 25 million is within 3 degrees. Okay?
When you see it in your person's name.
That's within 3 degrees, that's what that means. Now, it's a little bit confusing because they used to actually show you how many you had at second degree, how many you had third degree. They don't show that to you anymore. And one of the other things, and one of the things I wanted to get to, because I want to start showing you how to do advanced searches, is if somebody's within third degrees, you're not necessarily going to be able to see their name. You're going to see usually their first name and their initial.
How do you access those numbers?
So it's under your home page, if you click home, it should be on the right over here. And by the way, another important thing, I don't know if we'll have time to get to it, but you can see the people that viewed your profile. This defaults to the last 5 people who viewed your profile. And to me, this is a very, very powerful tool, okay? Because if you're checking this, I can say, okay, well, Nora, I actually sent her something. But I could say, for example, Joe Berg, I'm going to guarantee you when I get home, I'm looking up Joe Berg's account, finding out who he is. Why, is somebody here? There we go, Mr. Berg, there we go. Rabbi Berg, maybe. But founder and president of Bolt, I like that.
Where's your picture?
All right, we are not critical of others here. During Sphero, we're especially not critical, right, Rabbi? Okay, so anyway, so usually it defaults to the last 5. If it had moved down, it'll move back up to the top. So it defaults to the last 5. Now, people ask me about a premium account. The one real benefit to a premium account is you can see 90 days worth. But if you're not having a rapidly moving kind of thing where you're getting more than 5, 10, you can just keep checking it and find those things.
But sometimes you can't, it tells you that it's not, they don't give you the
Right,
name.
right. That depends on that's set by their choices. Sometimes you'll see, let's see if I have an example of that on here. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we do have an example of that. So you see I had Rabbi Mr. Berg's name on here. You'll see here that it just says CEO, Executive Director of the Staffing Industry.
Illegal.
What? Oh, and this one says LinkedIn member. Okay, these are the 3 different levels of things you can do based on the choices the person makes in their profile. One misunderstanding people have, I don't care how much you're paying LinkedIn. They're not going to show you this if the person chooses not to be shown. Okay? If a person chooses that nobody will see them, it'll just say LinkedIn member, which is very helpful. I don't know.
How do you do this? I don't want to see.
So hang on, but before you decide to do that, okay? Or you can choose that people see just where your profession is. Before you decide to do that, if you go with either of these 2 options, you can't see this information. It's a symbiotic relationship. I agree with LinkedIn on this one. Because otherwise, I just hide mine and everybody, I don't want people to see what I'm doing. So in order for people to see, for you to see this, you have to include this same kind of information on yours. Okay? And that's the reason why people don't do it the other way. Otherwise, pretty much everybody would do it the other way. But what I was going to do, I was going to say is I was going to send an email, connect right here. Actually, I usually go through their account. It's a little bit easier. I would have clicked on his profile, found out some more about him, sent them a message. Thank you for viewing my profile. How can I help you? Something like that, and send them a connection request. Okay? Let's get into some of the advanced search capabilities here, because I know we have some questions about that.
How many hours a day does it take you to respond to everybody?
How many hours a day does it take me or a normal person? Me? Not.
Everybody
Well, look, the big thing he's leading up to now is that if you're in business, the big thing is lead generation. You want to know people who are looking for you.
Exactly, and the connections to those people. This
You
is
want to get business out of it. If they looked at you, that means they're interested in you, so you want to reach out to them. These are people that are...
exactly. And by the way, just to finish the point I was trying to make before, why do I connect to so many people? Yes, there's incredible data content, but I never know which connection that I'm connecting to is going to make the difference and open up something for you. You're connected to me, and I connect him. I've been looking for somebody. I've been looking for this person's name for years. You found that person because I made that connection. So you never know when a connection you make is going to be the key to Parnassa for you or potentially somebody else. So to me, it's worthwhile to connect to people that you know. Again, you don't have to connect to the random accounts, but it's important to connect to people that you know. Now, one of the important things, and it's important to understand, one of the reasons to have a bigger network on LinkedIn is you will find more people when you do a search in these keywords. And to show you how I do this again, up here at the top, doesn't really matter what you do. Go to the All button here, and there's a little advanced button here. You see that? On the right, click on that advanced button. That'll take you to your advanced search page where you can search for people. Okay? What's that? Okay. So you can search for people this way. You can search by, you see a lot of possibilities. Keywords, I'm looking for people in plumbing supplies, for example. That's what I'm doing. Okay? And I'm looking for people that live right around here, this particular area. I can choose it. United States, how far away, those kinds of things. I'm looking for somebody that has a particular title, the purchasing director of a plumbing company who lives in New York. I can do all those kinds of searches. Now the challenge becomes, and the more people you're connected to, the more information you're actually going to get when you do that. So I didn't test this one before because I wasn't thinking about plumbing, but we'll give it a shot. Plumbing, and we'll try located in or near.
Now you're searching with 10 people connected to you.
Right now I'm searching throughout all of LinkedIn, and I'll show you how that comes up.
All of it.
Yeah, whoops. Okay, and let's just say, okay, I'm not put a picture in it. So this will show me the people that come up here. I'll see what I get here. Okay, so you see here, by the way, for me, I came up with 2,151 people within 50 miles that are working in the plumbing business.
That's only for you?
That's only for me because I'm connected to all those people. Now, potentially, if somebody's not connected to as many, you'll see here that all I have here is second degrees. I'm not connected to anybody directly in there. Okay? Why did it come up first? Probably because of what he has in his profile and how he has himself set up in the search. He might have different search capabilities, his activity on LinkedIn, how many skills he has listed. So there's an algorithm that LinkedIn uses that they don't release, but a lot of it has to do with their activity on LinkedIn. It's why they showed up first. Okay? Even though he doesn't have a picture.
You just have to put in the keyword, not in the title.
Well, you can put in the title also. Look, because I was looking for plumbing companies, I could put in under title here, let's say I put in vice president. And I always tell people, put in current here. It defaults to current or past, put in current because, if you're already not doing it anymore, it doesn't really help you. And let's see what comes up here. Let's make this a smaller search. Let's do this within 10 miles. Let's see what comes up here. There we go, 51. Okay? Much more manageable, but again, I can look at these people's profiles now and see what it is, what connection I might have to them. By the way, you can see who that shared connection is. Remember when I talked about that power of connecting to somebody? I can see who it is that I know that's connected to Mr. G or Guy, and that's Jack Jaffa is the person that's connected to me. I can actually say, hey, Jack, do you mind introducing me to Joseph? I'm very interested in somebody who's a vice president at a total plumbing company, so I'm looking to sell some new widgets from Acme or whatever it is I'm trying to sell. Okay? That's a great way to turn a cold lead into a warm lead, because I'm assuming...
Can't you go to them yourself?
I can, but how many people come out and trying sales? Cold sales are not as good as warm sales, right? Any kind of sales. If I come up to you and say, hi, I'm Chaim Shapiro, I want to give you a LinkedIn workshop. Like, who are you? But if your friend over here says, you got to talk to Chaim Shapiro, and I met him, he's the guy who can do it for you. I mean, you see the difference, I would hope, right? That's a very different element right there, because you actually showed the person why it is that they want to connect with you, okay?
What would I see if I did it not, and I don't know this connection?
So you might not see anything. You might see first degree, second degree. And actually, I'm going to go back here and do an advanced search, because I want to show you a trick here. Because one of the things, it doesn't default to this, but we're going to take out all these things. Just put this to third degree, and I'm going to put it in accounting, because that shows up.
And you can't search all of LinkedIn. You can only search your own connections.
So generally, only your own connections will show up within 3 degrees, okay? Potentially, you can do third and everybody else, but I'll show you in a second. It's not going to really help you much, and I'll show you why. So we're just going to do accounting in this area in 3 degrees. And let's show you what comes up here. And this is going to be very annoying. There we go. See that? Salvador D.A. And I click on his profile. It is not going to help me. There you go. He's a third degree. If I upgrade my account, yes, I can see him. Okay? The problem is that's going to cost me money. Okay? And I don't necessarily want to spend that money on that particular person.
It costs you money for what?
Now, all I see is his name and his initials here. I don't see his last name. I have to upgrade to get his full last name in here. I have to pay LinkedIn money to get his full last name. Because he's a third degree. If he was a second degree, I would see his name. So if you have a bigger network, you have more people that are second degree and not third degree, then you'll be able to see their names and get all their information. That's the power of a bigger network. By the way, if you connect to me, I can connect you within 3 degrees to a lot of people and 2 degrees to a lot of people. But connecting to a couple people that are really well connected is very important because that'll open this up. Now, one quick trick here, and this works about 60% of the time, but we'll give it a shot. There is a way to sort of find their name here. So you'll see here, people also viewed. So you look at any profile, people also viewed other people. There's a very high affinity between these names. And a lot of times when you click on that, and now see, it's showing me this person's name. Oh, look, there he is. I just got this guy's name without paying LinkedIn anything. And by the way, now I can actually save him into my contact relationship management.
Can you repeat it once again?
Okay, so I'm going to have to go back here now. So I'll get to that in 1 second. But you see, right now I do not see his name, okay? Because that's hiding that from me, okay? And then I click down on whichever one. It's Michael Latham. I clicked on him. And because people viewed Salvador, viewed Michael, chances are people who viewed Michael also viewed Salvador, and then I can see Salvador's name here. Now, 2 things you can do once you get that name here. Here he is.
Do they both see that you viewed them now?
They will both see that I viewed them now, yes. Yes. If they're looking, they'll see. Okay? Now I can connect to him. Is the best thing to do if you think it's appropriate. Or right here, you can actually save people. There's a great contact relationship management program that LinkedIn just added, and that's the next thing I was going to actually get to. Okay? So you could save him as a contact here. Warning, even if you save him as a contact, you won't see his name again when you go back to his account. People think I saved him as a contact, I won't do it. So what I tell people to do, if you have names like this, put it into a separate spreadsheet, Google Documents, something like that, so you don't have to keep constantly find the person's name.
But why some people are private and not doing that?
Why are some people private? Why they don't want people to see that people are looking at their profile?
Like what can I see his last name for them?
Oh, so that's not nothing to do with him. That has to do with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you're within 2 degrees, if I'm connected to you and you're connected to her, we can see all that information. If she's connected to her, I can only see her first name and her last initial. Okay? So it's not Salvador that's doing it. It's LinkedIn that's doing it because I have a smaller
What
network.
about you forget this and you just want to look at her? You also won't see the last name?
You will not see the last name, no, unless you type in her name. Now, if you do a search for his name separately, you will. But if you found it through something, it'll only show the last initial, which is why a bigger network is more important, and then to write those names down. And this is the trick to finding those names. Okay? And by the way, a lot of times when you get your spreadsheet, just get his LinkedIn URL, and that will click you right to him when you get him next time.
Contact doesn't mean connection, right? Contact and connection.
No, so yes, because this is the next thing I wanted to actually get to. This is probably the nicest thing LinkedIn has done in years. Under network. Used to be if you wanted to tag somebody, you wanted to keep information on somebody, you had to pay for a premium account. They just gave you the opportunity to sync your account with Gmail, with your Google Calendar, with Yahoo, with Outlook, and a lot of other things. Now, this makes things a little bit more complicated because now there's a difference between a contact and a connection. Just to give an idea what the difference is, a connection is a person I am connected to, first degree. A contact could be somebody that I sent an email to via Gmail that I'm not connected to on LinkedIn. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, a contact that I connected to through Gmail that I'm not connected to on LinkedIn, I can still keep notes on them. Okay? Here in the contact relationship management. Now, you'll see here, and I want to stay away from, okay, here's somebody. Lavi is a good guy here, and you'll see here that under my notes here, I have a list of emails that I've sent to him. So now when I actually reach out to somebody through Gmail and I want to send somebody a lead account, I found my plumbing guy. Oh, what was it that I spoke to him about last time? I sent him an email last year. I don't remember what we talked about. You have that all here now. You can keep that in one place. When you're sending this guy an email about the plumbing supplies, you have a full list of everything you've ever spoken to that person about via your email accounts. And that gives you the history. So when you're reaching out to them, you're not just saying cold, and you remember exactly what you did. Very, very powerful tool. Plus, not only that, you can put notes in here. You know, I spoke to Lavi about this, that, and the other thing, and when we did the plumbing account, he spent $500, and he bought whatever widgets that we sold, and I have all that information together with his accounts. When I reach out to him again, and I'm going to call him or connect him with LinkedIn, I have all that information right there. I can also send to remind how I met them.
The company has its own CRM system.
If a company has their own CRM, then it's probably redundant. Yes, if your company does have your own CRM. But this is a free CRM. So if you're paying for a CRM, you might not have to. So if your company has it, then yeah, again. But it is a great way. And again, you also put how you met the particular person. For example, when I meet somebody at an event or a LinkedIn workshop, I'll just click in here how I met. I met them at the Cornelius Young Entrepreneurs meeting, whatever it happens to be. Another important thing, and I don't know how many CRMs, do you have tags on the CRMs that most people are using in their businesses? Tags are a very important component. You can actually tag somebody so you can actually find them amongst all these other people. Let me just show you here. You could search, filter by, and I'm going to tags here. And you'll see here under my tags, come on. There we go. I have my LinkedIn clients. So this, by doing this, I have all my LinkedIn clients in one place. Whenever I meet with a client, I'll put them right in there. I have all my notes about them, when I met with them, what we did, what we worked on. So when somebody calls me up and says, hey, Chaim, remember when we worked together on this particular thing? I'm like, yeah. Well, I have that all there. I know when I met with them, what we talked about, all those other things where we met. And potentially I can select them all and send an email to a group email to all of them saying, hey, is it time to update your LinkedIn stuff again? Come and let's meet. You could use unlimited number of tags. So you can actually tag people based on your connection, potential clients, potential partners, sales leads, whatever you want to put it there. And they do not see the tag. The most important part is whatever notes you're putting in about somebody, they don't see your emails, they don't see your reminders, and they don't see your notes. The only one that's going to see that is you. Or if you're like me and you show it to other people. But they will not see that. Yes, sir? Oh, okay. Okay.
This is a new feature?
This is about a year and a half old. Probably about a year old. Now, I'll tell you what I'm afraid of. I don't have evidence for this being the case. I'm afraid that LinkedIn is going to say, because they used to charge you for this. And then they made it free, which is sort of unlike LinkedIn in my experience. I'm afraid they're trying to get people like me addicted to this. And if they come back and say, oh, guess what, Chaim? You have to pay for this now, I'm lost because I don't have this information anywhere else. And one of the most annoying things about LinkedIn is you can't export all of your connections. You can't export based on a tag or based on a note or based on a search criteria. So I can export all 13,900 of my connections, which is pretty worthless, but I can't export my LinkedIn clients if say I had 500. And I couldn't do that individually. So I'm definitely afraid that they're going to start charging me for this. And then at that point, I have no choice because I have so much invested in this part already.
You can't save it anywhere else?
Well, you can, but you have to do it piece by piece because it doesn't let you export it. And again, I think the reason they're not letting you export it is because that's what their plan is. That's part of why I have an inclination that they're going to do that. Because in my mind, why wouldn't you let you export that information? It's very valuable information. But they don't let you do it because I think they're planning on doing that. Yes?
When you send an invitation, and then when you send it to it all comes under one flow.
Okay, so two things to talk about when it comes to that. First of all, first thing you need to do here, and this is under your network page. You go to your network, click on network. Okay, that'll take you to this page. This little button over here is very important. This one on the side right here, the little Jewish star, I guess. Not quite a Jewish star, but click on that. This is what's going to allow you to sync your Google, your Yahoo, your Outlook, your iPhone address book, and you can sync it to your accounts. It'll ask you to verify your accounts, and then you can sync it. And that way your emails on Gmail, your emails on Yahoo, Outlook will all be imported and synced with your LinkedIn account, okay?
Talking about emails that you send from LinkedIn.
Right, so just to get to that in a second, one of the confusing things, and the mistake I see people make all the time is, when you reach out to somebody, two mistakes they make. They send just the standard email. Because you're somebody I trust, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. Okay, if I know who you are, and I'm not a person who connects with everybody, I might accept that. Much better is, hi, Chaim Shapiro, we met at this particular event. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this, that, and the other thing. That's why I'm reaching out to you. That's individually tailored invitations to each person you're sending it to, 1,000,000 times more powerful than sending the generic email. The other mistake on the other side is, do not put too much information into that invitation request. And let's see, I'll try to save this, so maybe we'll get an example here if I'm lucky. Okay, so you see here, by the way, here's the people that want to connect with me. So here's Joe Berg, for example. Okay, now I can actually connect through him right here just by clicking on Zalman. I'm going to click accept here. But let's say, you see, I don't really see much information there. He could have included a nice little note with that, but I didn't see that note because I clicked on it through here and I avoided his note completely. Now, if I click on this mailbox and invitations, here's where I can read his note if I click on this, okay, and click on those things. But potentially the person's not going to see that. It could also go to their email address. But I've seen it happen a lot of times is somebody give a whole long payout. I want to connect to you because of this, that, and the other thing. I want to work with you this business thing. Guy connects it, He never saw what you wrote because he just connected to you because he saw the name and he recognized the name. So what I say is, individual, this is why I want to connect. This is who I am. This is why I want to connect with you, number one. And then number two, separate emails, what you're trying to reach out about. I want to talk to you about the widgets at my particular plumbing company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but didn't answer my question.
So, okay.
Understand.
Okay.
Invitations.
Yes.
It'll merge what the invitation you're sending people with the email.
Right. And yeah, no, it doesn't. It used to separate those out. It doesn't anymore. They put those together. And by the way, the other thing is old emails that you sent for invitations end up in your archive folder. I don't know why they changed their messages and why they did that. I assume it has something to do with the CRM. I assume for some reason it has something to do with the CRM because they happened around the same time, but I'm not sure why they have to do it that way. But again, your emails are always there. They don't erase on LinkedIn unless you erase them. So you can always do a search in the search box and find the emails that you sent somebody. And again, I would always advise people is go up there, sync your accounts as soon as you can, because that email information is very, very important.
Is it cost money to email from it?
It's going to cost money to email. If you're directly connected to somebody, it does not cost you anything to email them.
No, to invite them to.
No, to invite them, it does not cost anything. Okay. Now, I will tell you this. One thing to watch out for is if you send a bunch of invitations and people say, I don't know who in the world this Chaim Shapiro guy is, LinkedIn will take away your ability to send out blanket invitations. And it will force you to put an email address in to make sure you know the person. Okay? So you want to be careful that you're not sending it to people who are going to reject it and say, I have no idea who this guy is. It actually happened to me at one point. They took it away and I promised to play nice and they gave it back to me. But for a while there, I had to actually find the email first before I could send an invitation to anybody because I sent out, when I first started, I sent out a bunch of emails to people that said they didn't know me. So you want to be careful with that. Yes, sir?
Like myself, I thought, how do you put, when you see me and accept me, how do you add in, like, remind me to call this guy?
So what I would do now, I'd actually have to go to your name because it doesn't go, well, actually, I can go to the archive, but let's just see, time to show this here.
Yeah, I'm right there, second one.
Okay, so here you go. There you are. I'm going to accept your invitation. Click this little star. So it accepts it. There we go. Go back to Joe Berg. Click this little star here, add to contacts. Again, contacts different than connections. And I'm going to put how you met. And I would type on here, CH, what's the date? 5/5. And I'll make a bigger note when I come home. But now I had this here. And for example, oops, I'm not sure why that happened.
This is just for you.
Yes, he will not see that. I'm not sure why that just happened, but in any event, okay. Some connection problem there. But it will work, okay? And you will not see that I made that note. You will not know that I made that note. By the way, I can set a reminder saying, make sure to follow up with Joe Berg in a week or in a month or in a year. Okay, one of the things I don't like about LinkedIn is they don't give you the opportunity to say, follow up with him on November 3rd. It actually has to be at an interval of a week or a month or a year. I don't know why they do that. It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, for accountants, follow up with the accountant on April 16th. It makes a lot of sense, because that's when they'll have time, but they don't allow you to do that for some reason. Any last minute questions, things? I know people want me to show, yes?
I'm just going back to the recommendation for a second. People that recommend you have to have a account also.
Yeah, the people that recommend you are going to be people that have an account, and they'll recommend you, and it'll show up on their profile and your profile. Right. And again, the people, I've seen students that recommend each other, and most people aren't going to check it, but the higher order recommendations, people that are professionals, are much better recommendations than the lower order recommendations. Other questions? Somebody asked me about settings before, and I do want to get to that. Yes?
Because this is the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
If there's one major business tip that you have to share that you haven't shared yet, that would be your final.
So I would think this. What I would generally say is LinkedIn is a great identification tool. Okay? LinkedIn is a great way to find people. For me to find Joe Berg, for example. It is not the best way to engage people. Okay? Because let's say I want to connect with Joe Berg, but I don't have a connection to him. I just found his name. I don't know somebody connected to him. Or I call up Chaim Shapiro. Hey, do you know Joe Berg? Well, I saw him at an event. I don't really know him well. LinkedIn is a great identification tool. One of the things I tell people when it comes to social media is a lot of times where the multimodal strategy comes in, where you need to use things across social media streams, is to take the identification to engagement. One of the best places to do that engagement is on Twitter. Because when people have Twitter accounts, you can actually follow them and follow what they're saying. For example, when somebody makes a post that I'm interested in, let's say I'm interested in, there's Rebbe Shmuley there, but in the NHL or something like that, they make a comment about the Blackhawks, I can engage them about the Blackhawks. I've established a relationship with that person completely off the chart. It's not based on I'm asking you for something, and that I can hopefully use to flourish into a business relationship going forward. So the real goal is identify on LinkedIn, engage on Twitter, and I tell people still over coffee if you can. In person is definitely the best way you do it. And the other thing I'd probably say is, again, in a social media world or Web 2.0, LinkedIn is an incredibly powerful tool. You need to be able to use it right. You need to know what you're doing. You got to have a strategy. And one of the things that people also forget is, well, where am I reaching out to my customers? LinkedIn's a great professional site. Are your customers on LinkedIn? If your customers are college students, perhaps they're on Facebook instead of LinkedIn. And one of the fundamental issues that I think, one of the fundamental issues, I waited until 7 o'clock to do that though. But one of the fundamental issues I think in social media is, if you're looking for customers, hang out where your customers hang out. If your customers are hanging out on Pinterest because they're cooks and they're posting recipes, perfect. If they're hanging out on LinkedIn, that's where you want to be. If they're hanging out on Twitter, that's where you want to be. But LinkedIn is the professional side. This is where you're going to be seen and find people and find out information about people. The other thing you can do, I think, is when you find somebody that you're interested in, like Rabbi Wordy, if I find something about, for example, charitable organizations or interests that you have on there, that could be a potential link between us that I can use eventually going forward. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.